If you can't be recorded,
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the March 18th episode of MVP Office Hours. I am Squire Kirshner. With me today, as always, is Joy Shutters-Helbing. Say hi, Joy.
Hi, Joy. Oh, that's me.
Dale is preoccupied, and so he's not going to join us in person, but he's always here in spirit, and we always have lots of other MVP friends along for the ride. You can reach us always at our Twitter handles or at MVP Office Hours on Twitter. Our email is also available to us, but like we always say now, Success Community is your friend. We've seen some really good conversations there in the last couple months, and so always post your questions there if you can, and we bring them back here whenever we can if they don't get answered on the fly, or even if they do, because they're really important. So let's see here. Community events. I believe that there has been no changes to the community events. At least the links aren't updated. So right now we're still looking at Northwest Dreamin' and Texas Dreamin' in April and Czech Dreamin' in May, and World Tour Paris the end of the month. Trailblazer DX happening at the end of April. All great opportunities. Everything can be accessed via the Trailhead waffle. Go to events and then choose your favorite box. So
just one quick note.
Of course.
Texas Dreamin' is the 28th and 29th.
Oh, I will make sure.
So it's Thursday and Friday, just so if anybody's thinking they're coming, we'd love to have you come Thursday and
All right.
Friday.
I'll update the dates. Thank you.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Next call will be on April the 1st. We're not going to trick you. It's really just going to be a call, and we'll go through the same things we always go through. So hope to see you then. Register on the website or on the Success Community like always. Normal bullet points here. Welcome everybody. I think our standard attendance is pretty sick of us going through this every single time. Any newbies, we always like to make sure that everyone realizes that we're all going to be an MVP in some way, shape, or form. Just because you have a sticker by your name doesn't mean anything. We're all here to help each other out. And that means everybody participates, share what you know, raise your hand, get off mute, and tell us what you think and help us solve the problems together. If you have a question, feel free to just raise your hand in the chat or post it in the chat, and we will keep track of everything that's in the queue and make sure we get to you as soon as possible. And as always, we are recording. Hopefully you all just saw that happen. And so we want you to share screens, examples, demos, whatever, but make sure, because we're recording, if it's private or proprietary data and you can't share it, can't have you share your screen. Hopefully we can work around that in some way, shape, or form. And always, anything that you know can be posted in the chat as far as links, documents, responses, whatever. We try to collect it all and put together in the slide deck.
Or maybe we should put that in the invitation.
Yeah. Hey, remember, this is going to happen, right? So I think that's a really good idea. Resource Hall of Fame hasn't changed much, although I will say that there was a significant change to order of execution with the most recent release. So if you've memorized it, you got to memorize it again. It's pretty subtle, but it's important. So always check that out. Oops, too many button clicks, not enough fingers. All right, and with that, I think we're going to jump right into the topics. Claire had some really good questions in the chat earlier in the week, and I think had a couple responses, including myself. And Dodie was emailing me over the course of the week. I don't think I missed anything else. Did you happen to see anything, Joy, while perusing?
No, that's what I was just like taking a last minute spin on, and no. So
okay, cool.
We're good. We're good.
All right. And I'm pretty sure I saw Claire join.
Yes, there she is.
Cool.
Hello. Happy Friday.
Rather than read the question, and I know you've done some work since it was posted, so maybe we let you kind of take over and lead us through your question and where you're at and what's outstanding.
Sure. Well, first, thanks for this resource. I really appreciate the opportunity to kind of troubleshoot real time. So really appreciate everyone here. Yeah, exactly, Joy. Okay, a little bit of context and background. So I'm working on a flow just as it's described in the slide there. So we have opportunity contact roles, account contact relationships. I'm attempting to create a flow that takes those opportunity contact roles, and if there is not already a corresponding account contact relationship for that contact, it will essentially create a replica of that OCR as an ACR. And if there is a corresponding account contact relationship, then it should update that record to match the opportunity contact roles. So I'm having a very specific issue with this. And I've got my like debugger up here with all sensitive data hidden, but I did debug a opportunity in our production org that I know for sure does have like a matching. So the contact is assigned as an opportunity contact role and also as an account contact relationship. So what I would expect to happen in this debug would have been that it goes through the loop and then it takes this path that the account contact relationship already exists, and it should have updated that existing contact rather than tried to create a new one. So I think I've pinpointed where this issue is happening. So I have this filter collection here. This filter collection is supposed to be filtering for the contact that is the match between the opportunity, the OCR, and the ACR. So if you look at the debug log, it does say that we do have one item in the collection. So my interpretation is that it found a match between the contact, which exists as both OCR and ACR roles. But then something is happening in my decision node or my decision element where it's not recognizing that that contact exists as both an opportunity contact role and an account contact role. So this is what I need help with, is figuring out how to modify this decision element so that it recognizes the correct path to take.
Wow, that is okay. Cool. All right. So Christy was just bragging earlier that she's really, really good at flow. So we're going to let her run with this.
Well, I appreciate that, but I will tell you that when I am troubleshooting a flow, I literally have to go by each step. I'm like that 5-year-old learning the flow. So obviously you're looping through, you're finding a match because of a filter. But if we could go into the decision node, I need to see that. I saw the flash and then it didn't stay. So your current item contact ID equals the current item contact ID.
Yeah, so the filtered contact ID matches the current looping contact ID.
Okay. Yeah, usually Squire, I'll tell you what, honestly, answering like this, not me. Diving into it and looking at each step, yes, I could. It's one of those things that I feel flows are a maze and you have to go, okay, which way do I need to go and why? And so I'm not super fast, so I apologize.
I was just giving you the business, so please don't apologize.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So if you look at your debug and you see the IDs that you have, the one that comes from the filtered,
Yes.
and then the opportunity contact role that you think you're looping with, right? Have you gone to look at those records?
Yes, I have. Well, I looked, I guess I didn't look. I did
At the
look to
contact.
verify. Yeah, I looked at the contact and verified that it's related to both the opportunity and the account.
And you see, if you look at the roles, do you see the IDs that match that?
That
I-
is an excellent question. Let me stop sharing and do that really quick.
And actually, while you're doing that, because the other thing we should come back to is you can see in the node that it doesn't know the ID of the filtered record you think you're comparing to. So there might be something prior in your flow. So let's check both of those things.
Okay.
So to follow up on what Christy said, I'm in her camp because I'm doing that right now. I'm having a flow that has like 4 different if statements that all have to have an assignment after that if. And so I can't do it mentally. I can't do it inside the flow. What I have is a matrix that sits to the side, and that matrix just says, what are the values that have to be correct at every part of the if to be true? And so then I say, A equals this, B equals that, C equals this, in order for this if statement to be true and follow that side. And then second if, third if, fourth if, so that every branch can have an A, B, C value. And I don't know if you can do the same inside. You've got 2 nested loops inside of each other with 2 different sides of the branch. And if in your mind, you can set up a little matrix that says, at this assignment, I must have A equals this and B equals that in order to continue down this part of the loop and still be true. And if you can watch those A's and B's variables, if at some point in time that's not true, then you're missing something, either a get statement or an assignment statement, or something there is missing.
I think I followed, but maybe not.
I'm not even sure that I followed what I just
We
said.
recorded it, so you can go back. We recorded it.
Okay.
Correct.
Maybe Squire or
Okay.
Christie can translate what I just said in real language.
Because I want to make sure I heard it correctly too. So what, if I understand what you're saying, you've got a table that if a human being were just looking at pieces of paper and you needed to check 4 things for ifs, here's what you do, human being. You look in A and you look in B, look at C and look at D, and here's what should happen, right? Like it's you've got like a conveyor belt, and you have that side by side with the flow, so that instead of asking a human being to check it, now you're checking this punch list against Salesforce
Yeah.
and saying, yes, this happened, this didn't
So
happen. Right?
so in if I was the developer, I would say that those are breaks. So like assign OCR details, I'd set a break in my mind and say, okay, if I've got 2 or 3 variables, what do I expect those variables to say? A needs to be 3, B needs to be the account ID, and 4, like whatever. And then somehow be able to show that on the debug log to say, are these set correctly? And then if not, well, either you can go back and look at the record in Salesforce and say, do I even have values there? Or there's somewhere in this loop that I'm not either grabbing the values to put in, or I'm not setting them in the assignment.
And that's exactly what I think the nodes on the right are going to tell, what you just described, Stu. So like, for instance, you had it highlighted a second ago, Claire, that contact was null.
Yeah,
Right.
Yep.
And then the one before it, you can see that even the filter ACRs for contact is also null. And so it's almost like, to Stu's point, there was a check to say a node should have some records in it, yes or no. And earlier in the step, in that break, you don't have any records, so downstream is going to fail, right?
Mm.
can you scroll
think-
up just a little bit? And on the right, yeah. Get records. Get ACRs, looking on the right-hand side.
So you are storing
Storing the
individual,
values in get
individual fields?
ACRs.
or you're storing all the values of those fields?
All
All,
fields.
all the records, all the fields. Okay. Interesting.
Same for OCRs.
Okay.
I'm curious, the filter step appears to be working, but if you don't do something with that filtered list, can you pass it into the decision? Is that the problem? Is that you now need to assign the filtered list to a new variable to check each piece of it? Because, right, because like you're saying, for each record in the thing, filter it, but then it appears to be null as it enters the decision.
Right.
Right.
So-
So if I see the filter ACRs mod debug output, so scroll up just a little bit higher. Right. So like you've got some records there, but or sorry, leading into it, you've got some records because it found records. But then the first thing you say, if the current loop is saying filter ACRs for contact ID is null. So at that point, there's nothing to even assess. So when you get to the decision, you're pushing null into it. It's almost like there's a step prior to the decision that's missing.
Can you scroll up again? I know that sounds crazy. I'm so sorry. No, I'm in the middle to see all your nodes. So
So you,
this sounds kind of crazy, but you're getting two collections. I only see one loop. I'm only seeing one loop.
Yeah.
And in my head, and this is my 5-year-old route, I have a collection of my OCRs and I have to loop through and then take one of the ACRs and say, does that one match it all? But then I have to say, does that one match it all? Does that one match it all? Does that one match? Oh, I found a winner. And so I feel like there's something missing. Me being able to just tell you right now what it is, I can't, but it's one of those, like, I picture a loop as a Ferris wheel. That's how I describe it. So everybody's in line in the collection to get on the Ferris wheel and one gets off. But if you're trying to match them up, then I think you need to actually have somewhere 2 loops.
Totally.
it
And
that-
that's what I was hoping that the filter would accomplish, would like
Ah.
sort through the ACRs to find only the one with that matching
Ah.
contact.
That's it. I think, so it's that loop, but then how, it's that once you found the loop, how do I get out? Like, let me off the Ferris wheel.
Only if it matches, right?
Yeah, oof.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that this would find the matching ACR
I'm
And
not
then
sure.
if
you
that
need a
was
loop.
true.
I'm
So
also a
if
little
I'm
concerned
looking-
because you might have more than one match if you're only looking for contact account
Mhm.
roles. So you have a different problem that you could have the account relationship show up multiple times.
I think if you got rid of the loop, I'd be interested to see what happens. Because you could match and in the decision, there is a way to just say, look for the first match. And then kick out.
Now, I have done that actually in a different flow where I get a collection, but I know, and then I order it and I only want that first one. Now, this is not ordering, I know, but then I just never go back to my loop. I just say, set that and go on. It was a time thing, but, you know, I was just thinking, so what kicks off this flow when the opportunity closes?
Yes. Yep, when it's closed one and there is an available contact role.
And so you're right, there could be multiple matches. Now, I vaguely remember at my past company, something about it was a loop and then it assigned it as the loop and took that assignment and went through the other loop. So I know people are talking about getting rid of the loop, but for me, I'd probably attempt to loop through that first set, assign it, and then see if it exists in the second set, and if it does, do this one thing and not. So
I'm
I'm
curious.
kind of a visual flow person. So
I'm curious if you even need to have a second loop. If you query your ACRs for a relationship of a contact ID and the firm ID, or sorry, the account ID tied to that opportunity, you should get the one record. Now you don't have to loop on a loop. You're going to go get the one you want to evaluate. Right? I mean, unless I'm oversimplifying that query.
So
if you-
getting
if you
rid
have
of the loop
3.
entirely and then just filtering for a contact ID match.
You'll still have to loop through all of the opportunity contact roles.
Okay.
But I think, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but you should only be able to find one account contact role that matches the contact that you're looking at and the opportunities account.
Ideally, yeah.
And so you should be able to say loop through it, get the one record I want to evaluate. Is there one? Do something. Is there not one? Do something. And now you're only dealing with a single loop.
Okay,
Yeah.
which she already has.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious that I also only see one loop here.
Because then it's just,
Question.
you've got the loop and the decision, and you go back to the next item in the OCR and do something else. You just keep assigning them to a collection to do a final update.
Yes.
But, okay, and I might be really, really off, so Stuart, help me out on that. If I took 2 second grade classes, I know this sounds crazy, and I have a collection of 20 kids in each class, and I need to find the one kid wearing green and then the other kid wearing green, don't I have to loop through each set of the 20 kids to find out the match that wears green or not?
Yeah, if you have multiple green wears, yeah.
But in theory, you shouldn't have, like, so let's make some actual variables on that, Christy. So if you're looking for, in class A, you're looking for Squire with wearing green. In class B, is Squire wearing class B showing up multiple times in class B? Or either yes or no?
Okay, I see what you're saying. I was just thinking there's so many people to look through. You have to look through multiple records and you got a collection. So you have to look through multiple records to find any match. And if you don't find a match, then it automatically, the other 19 kids goes down and creates a new record.
Right. I think we're saying that, I think we are saying the same thing. I want to make sure that we don't get too abstract and throw it off, right? So going back to, let's pretend this were erased. Don't erase it. Please, God, don't erase it. But so opportunity closes. You go get a collection of all the opportunity contact roles. We know we have to act on that list of people, right? Now, get the first one and say, it's Christy, her contact ID. And this opportunity I'm talking about is ID A. So now I can query the entire account contact role database and just say, give me Christy at ABC, because there should only be one. Now that's a bad assumption, and you should handle that in case it ever shows up again. But in theory, there should just be there should just one, right? And then do something with it. Or if there's none, do something. Go ahead, Stu.
What if? Okay, so now I'm understanding. So I'm reading through. The error I'm seeing is, so in the, you stop right there, in the collection filter. So it's getting the OCRs, create a collection, applying the conditions. In the source collection, it found one. It found the source collection. And it's gonna loop through that source collection to find ACRs. But in the get ACRs, it found
Storing it.
0. It found nothing. It was null. So the collection, the filter ACRs for contact ID was null, because at that point in time, it couldn't find any ACRs yet. Maybe what you have to do is move the get ACRs to inside the loop. You get the OCR first, and then you start to loop through the OCR. And then inside that, you get the ACRs, and you might find that is no longer null.
It was
Because-
troubleshoot. So that's the way I had it set up at the beginning when
Really?
Yeah, I had get ACRs inside the loop, and then I was still having this issue where it was telling me that there was it was trying to create another record, but there was a duplicate. There was already an ACR with that contact. And in another troubleshooting group, I was advised to never get records inside of a loop. So that's why I
Okay.
pulled it out and then used the filter as that replacement.
I was using Christie's green shirt thing to
Yeah.
think about it. Like, okay, so if I know that there's a first grade class and there's a green shirt inside that first grade class, I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna go into the first grade class. That's my OCR, and then see if there's a green shirt. But that null is what's driving me crazy. It's like, So
No,
it
no,
sees,
but
it sees
when
that
you-
there's a collection, but the collection is null.
right, but I see what you're saying too, Stuart. I like moving it, but you don't need the whole, you just need to you got your OCR collection. And then you loop through, get the one and say, go get me the one that matches. Now, if null comes back, you need a decision to go do that, but you don't need the whole collection. So Squire's right
Yeah.
too. You just need the one that matches. But if you find null, then go do the other thing. If you find the match, then do that thing.
But I can't find null in a loop. Maybe
Yeah,
it's,
Well, okay,
Just
so
an empty
she's getting
collection or a record in a collection, right?
well,
Not
that's the
null.
other thing. I
Yeah.
never, ever, ever do, if I can avoid it, the get me all fields. Because if you actually assign it to a new variable at the bottom, there's that lovely little checkbox that says return null. And then you have a decision. So if it's looping through each person on the Ferris wheel, then, and it goes to say, do I find a match that matches the current one from the loop, then your decision is from there.
Look, I have a quick question or a different perspective to look at it, I think. That I was trying to see. So you get your ACRs and you store them where?
In a record collection variable.
Right, which one? Which record collection variable?
I think it's called here, get
Okay.
ACRs.
Okay. And then when you don't move them anywhere else, that's where you get them?
Yes,
Store them in there, okay, and then you come in your loop and you've got your opportunity contact role that you're looking at, and then you're trying to compare it to which item? That's
so
your
I'm
filter,
yep,
okay, and
And
then the next question down, because you have one result there, but the next one down is looking at current filter.
yeah.
And
so
the, okay, so the last step with the filter stored the current get ACR into the current filter ACR?
yeah, I guess I was assuming that this current item from the filter was the like target collection, the one that was filtered.
Which goes back to my comment, like you could have more than one.
Right.
You shouldn't, but you could. And so
Yeah,
you
and in
can't
this-
actually compare a collection to a single variable.
Yeah, but in this case, I know that there is just one in the collection because the debug
Oh.
log tells me there's one in the collection, in the target
So what's
collection.
the
True, but it's
value
a
on the
bad
right?
assumption, I guess I'm saying, is you're
Yeah.
coincidentally only getting one, but you have to be able to address that. So
So can you go to the value on the right? What options do you have to pull from?
Got the looping the collection of opportunity contact roles, which the current loop, which is what I was using, the filtered group, which is the initial like resource being compared, and then these two record variables are the ones that I'm using to store like the updating fields that I'll use to update the records later in the flow.
I'm gonna I hate to do this again. I still feel like you're getting a collection that you don't need and trying to iterate through it. Because you're saying, give me the ACRs for this account, then only give me the one record that matches this account and this contact. You can do that with one single call. You don't have to double loop. And that brings me back to you should never do a get in a loop. That's not entirely true. I think the important part there is to understand the scalability of, because you only have so many calls, right?
If
So-
it's filtered appropriately, yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's not a hard rule against it. You never want to loop in a loop if you can help it. That's more of a rule than a get in a loop. But I feel like if you were to just take one big step back and just say, get my OCRs. I know I only care about this account and this contact, give me the one record, because you're assuming one, but handled one or more. You only have to do one loop, and then you can deal with a decision that doesn't have to filter or loop within a loop. Like you literally get yes or no from that output. I feel like that's the best way to get this thing running.
Okay, let me go back to my to this flow like previous version so that we can look at the version where I did have the get ACRs in the loop, because I think
Claire,
that
I want to take just a second here while you do that.
yeah, sure.
For fairness for everyone else on the call, Dodie sent me several emails over the course of last week asking some questions. I don't believe they joined today.
Don't see.
Are there other questions in the queue?
Nothing in the chat. Everyone is fully committed to
Cool. All
Claire's
right.
flow today.
I appreciate you letting me do that. Keep going, Claire.
Let me, I'm still looking for that previous version.
I mean, if you want me to fill some time, I can tell you all about the nonsense, but you know, we're recorded, so I'll have to talk to you about the pizza I reheated for lunch and the dog having a chew toy right now.
Dodie had some really good, like, why would I do something questions. So it's a shame that they didn't join, because I think it would be good to talk about things like why master detail versus lookup, and did you know that if you have master details you get weird headers and related list pick lists, and like all these great questions that I think are good, but more important that we help Claire if we can. So
Oh, master detail versus lookup. That's a great pros and cons list.
oh boy, isn't
Where's
it though?
that article? Where's that article I always go back to when I'm like, and I'm on the fence and I'm like, well, what about this? I'll look for it.
I'm finding a bunch of, I bet you didn't knows recently that I'm actually shocked that I didn't know this stuff before.
We should find a way to get them itemized and bring them up the next
Yeah.
call.
I'm like, how long have I been using Salesforce and I didn't know you couldn't do that before?
I think the one of the gotchas that I didn't realize, and then when I did realize, I was like, oh, but that can't do, was changing a field type, right? For the longest time, I don't think it was available, and then it was, and then you could only do it for certain field types, and then you couldn't do it both ways for all. It was crazy, but it's also like good to know when you're building, and that's what sandboxes are for. So, oh, did you find the article faster than I did? Darn it. No, I found a different one. All right. But there's there's all sorts of stuff out there for you guys to take a peek at on master detail versus lookup. I think one of the most interesting things that I do is add like users as a lookup. Terrible. I hate it. Custom field types. That's a good one. Oh, how did that go? App Builder? You took the exam or you took the course?
Took the exam,
And
the second time I passed it, but the first time, because there's no practice test like the admin exam, I didn't know what I was getting into, but I realized so much was focused on master detail versus lookup and what happens when you switch them, and then field types and then formulas. Like, yeah.
Mhm.
Anyways, so I had those
Well,
articles
congratulations.
fresh at the ready for you to put in the chat because I was just there.
Congratulations on passing that. That's an accomplishment. It's a big one.
Thank you.
I find that like the overlap between admin, Sales Cloud, Platform App Builder, and Advanced Admin, like those four, there's like they rotate around like the same space, like so much. And they naturally like help out the next one. So if you're looking for like something to like get that you're already halfway into, those are the four, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know where to go next. And I was thinking advanced admin. Unfortunately, it took me like a year to get into App Builder for my admin. And then I didn't realize you're supposed to do them like back to back. And that'd be the best way to do it. So I had to relearn everything. So I'm thinking maybe for the advanced admin, maybe I should do it sooner.
I think with the advanced admin, a lot of that is going to be like that, like hands-on experience. And so make sure you like are working in your dev org and doing the things and, practicing and all that stuff, because I think that's going to help you a lot. And someone like kick me, I feel like approvals pop up. And so wrap your head around approvals.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Advanced is
other
definitely
options like
not-
territory management.
Yeah, it's like advanced is not stated loud enough. It's
Yeah.
like the stuff that you likely won't use, but you're gonna need it someday, like entitlements and what else is in there? Like,
Yeah.
ugh.
Approvals is a big one though, because a lot of companies don't use them. And so
Mhm.
like I got lucky with that one because the company I was at the time was using approvals. And so I had already like been banging my head against the wall like over and over and over in a real life scenario. And so taking the test on that piece of the pie was not hard for me. Because I was like, oh no, that won't work. I was like, I hit my head against that beam once, like not gonna do it again. But there you are. All right, let's see. Daniel, 4 certs that you agree stack overlap on the knowledge. Yep. Approvals, yeah, they should get an overhaul. I don't anticipate that happening anytime soon.
They
But
did. They're called orchestrations.
there you go. There are other options, like you don't have to use approvals out of the box. I've seen companies like make up their own series of checkboxes and access, and you know, you can build your own. I mean, it's just, that's like your
Yeah, but if
But it's like-
Salesforce would just make it better, then you don't have to like time and efforts. Like, do you use the thing that's icky, or do you take the time and effort to like build your own? It's like they should just make it be less icky.
right. That's your choice. That is your choice. Use the icky thing or build it the way you want it. And that's where you're at. So, but it's, I mean, I don't know. It works well when it works. And if you understand like the limitations, you can work within those limitations, then it works well. Other than that though, whatever, it's a pain in the butt. I
Sarah, it
love
looks like
it.
you found your flow. Did you have something else to show us?
Yes, I did find the earlier version, and it looks like with that same opportunity I was troubleshooting the other one with, it did work with the ACR, get ACR inside the loop. But now I'm just wondering why I changed it. I feel like I'm going back through my email trying to find the error logs.
Was this the one that was throwing the duplicate error that kind of led off the conversation?
I think so. I think yes. I'm trying to confirm just to be sure.
That is the question that I think we all say all the time is why didn't it work? And then later it's why did it work?
Exactly.
See, that's where we're different. So I just slap a high five and congratulate myself for making it work, and then I walk away quickly.
Yeah, but I know that I wouldn't have, I also would have walked away and ignored it completely. But so I must have gotten some kind of error that that caused me to go back and make some changes. So I'm just trying to find my.
Just so you guys know, I'm 2 years in as an admin on my own in a department of one with no peers to talk to. And since COVID, this is the first time like really coming out because I've finally been able to make those connections, which brought me to you guys. But it's so nice to hear other people thinking through things and walking away from stuff once it works. I thought that was just me.
Katie, that is, you just like hit the nail on the head with the hardest thing about being a solo admin or being the only person who speaks Salesforce vernacular, right? It is by far the hardest thing that you will have to deal with. And that's why we're here. And that's why all of the community groups exist. And that's why there's all sorts of different spaces, right? I swear I can't even name them off right now. Taco says hi, but he also wants to go outside. But we're here for you. And also, if you're not on Twitter, like jump into the Twitter like space for the Ohana and ask the questions. And you know, and Andrew, you're so right. Like being a solo admin, you find the spaces like this, but you also kind of get to drive the bus, right? You get to like decide, make some really important decisions. But we're here for you. And I think
Yeah.
everyone who's been in this space can agree, right? Yes, no, or just tell me I'm wrong. I mean, it's
No,
okay.
you're totally wrong, Joy. There's nobody that can help you with anything. No, I live on Twitter, so just this last week when I had a problem, Twitter and then hashtag Ask Force, and you'll get probably a dozen people that have either had that problem before or are willing to spend 20 minutes to either talk you down from your ledge or issue a suggestion. And you never know. Sometimes it's a great suggestion.
I love that, Stu. I like to make sure that during my user groups that I remind everyone, like, we all started on page 1 of whatever you're doing, and no one in the history of Salesforce that stayed in the Salesforce community ever made someone feel bad for asking a question. And if it's how do I build a report or how do I build an advanced approval flow, we've all been there and we're all learning all the time. And yeah, I'd like to give
Once in
Katie
a
a hug
while.
if I could.
Once in a while on
Could use one sometimes.
developer.salesforce.com, people get a little snippy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even then it's okay because we can talk through it.
Yep.
All good. It's all good.
It's awesome to have you here, Katie.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
Claire, find that duplicate issue and we'll figure out maybe next call or on the community, we'll figure out how to do it. But I'm glad that you found where that get was inside the flow.
Yeah,
I understand.
I think I might revert back to that setup rather than using the filter. I know I'm having one other issue with it, which is that my roles are a multi-select pick list field, and so I need to add instead of replace, and that's also just a bit of a headache. But that's kind of a separate issue with this flow. So
I get where there's people that say don't do things like that, put things inside of things, and that's true. But there's also other ways to do it. So there's usually never one answer that's the true answer. It's like, well, what do you need to get done? And then let's figure out a way to do it.
Be thoughtful and planful. That's what it's all about. If there were rules
a
like
word.
that, then you couldn't do it, right?
Planful.
If you
That's
weren't
not a-
supposed to do a get inside a loop, Salesforce wouldn't let you do it. If you weren't supposed to loop in a loop, that builder wouldn't let you do it. Just think about it. All right.
thank you so much, everyone. Really
You
appreciate
weren't
it.
supposed to use multi-select pick lists. Salesforce wouldn't let you use it.
That's
I
hilarious.
feel like
You
we
and I
have a
need to
big
have a
old
conversation.
We're gonna have a talk after this call.
considerations before using multi-select pick lists. They're gonna kick you in the shins every time you gotta use them in anywhere.
Yeah. Yes.
Darn it. Darn it. I mean, they do the job. They just don't play well with others. They're
And
running
it's
with scissors. They're running with scissors all over the playground.
And it's the standard field for the account contact relationship role. So
Yeah. Womp womp.
yeah.
So did you have to delete the old rule first before you could add the new one?
Yeah, right now I'm like trying to figure out how to add to the list rather than supersede the entire list. But I think I have another thread in another group going where they gave me some suggestions like formulas to use for that. So just need to sit down and configure it. But I'm gonna revert back to my old flow without the filter and see if that works.
And this is different than account contact rules, right?
Yes, account
Okay.
contact relationships are, different.
All right, just making sure, because I know that's not working in Lightning. All right.
Joys of Salesforce.
Chris, what's not working in Lightning for account contact roles? I hadn't heard that.
Oh, I don't think they're ported over. I think you have to use contacts with multiple accounts or something like that.
Okay.
Account contact roles is a classic feature because I had to migrate over.
Got it. Okay.
So I
Maybe
think it's
I'm conf-
accounts with multiple or contacts with multiple accounts is the new feature for Lightning, but
Yeah, the relationships piece, right? Yeah.
yeah.
I think I'm
Yeah.
confusing account team with the old classic thing. Sorry. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, there's so many. Yeah.
I think the basic account rules work inside of Lightning, but if you want to relate a contact to more than one record, you have to turn on the functionality to allow that with that contacts to multiple accounts.
That's right.
Not
All right.
on by default.
Yes. And then you have to explain to everyone why it's better than the custom things you built in Classic. So, all right. We got 10 minutes, and I didn't see any new questions pop up, but if that doesn't mean nothing new has come up, or if there's a topic of interest that we want to chat about, feel free.
I have a topic of interest that you noted at the very beginning about the order of execution change. I know that with the flow, you get a little bit more manageability of how you can order when you're using it. I think it's still beta, right? Where you can put the order of how your flows execute, which is kind of cool. But I wanted to ask if you could talk about the other order of execution change.
Oh man, I would recommend reading the release note on it. They do a way better job than me rambling on it. It has to do, I'm going to just go find it just to clarify, but let's see here. Where are you? They talked about it quite a bit during the Flow release readiness too, which if you didn't watch that a month ago, I highly recommend it. They cover so many things on that that hour that it was almost like it was a brand new platform in my opinion. But let's see here.
I have to hop off a little early, but again, just want to say thank you to everyone. I really, really appreciate all of your assistance today. I'll post in the group about my results of all these changes. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
I don't know if this helps you, Squire, but according to the March, yeah, this isn't going to help you at all. nor will this help you out, Barb. But according to the Salesforce Architect page, the March 22 sneak peek says that sometime in March, which we are in, they will be publishing a platform order of execution article where they will explain everything that happens with the order of execution, with the updated stuff with Apex and Flow. But that article or that note doesn't have a link posted yet. So I think they're still working on that article. So this is why Squire is having a hard time finding the link to the help file explaining what the changes are. They haven't written the article yet.
Too funny. I think I remember something. Is it like after save flows run
Yes.
before something else? I just couldn't remember what it was and hadn't had the opportunity to dig into it or need it.
That yes, absolutely. And it was one of those well does that I think probably deserves the article that Sue just referenced. So why don't I do this? Because I think it's a really good point of conversation. I'll take the action item to find either that article before the first or learn myself up on it, and we'll lead off the call next time with that answer. And then hopefully it'll help us all kind of understand what's going on.
Can you compose a song about it too, Square?
I have a beautiful singing voice, so I'll put it to music. Let's see. What
No,
else?
that's all, right? That's all we got. No
Yeah.
questions today. It's been an easy week for everybody. We're very excited.
You know what? I'll just throw it out here just because there was one of the Doty's questions that I didn't really have a strong opinion about, and it's probably a 5-minute conversation, was the idea of using a hyperlink formula to grant link access to other records, like via related list. And is there a right way or wrong way or reason not to do that?
I don't think the hyperlink would grant access though.
Sorry, just to get there quick, not necessarily open the door to access, but like, say if I'm looking at a related list of contacts, but I want to get to that contact's, I don't know, some custom parent object that isn't displayed as a link, like building that as a hyperlink works. But is
Right,
there,
versus a relationship.
yeah.
Why not save a favorite or have it in the recent items? It's already out of the box.
Because if they want that for all of the contacts, not just their contacts, they want that available for all users, not just specific.
Or it's on the,
Um,
on a related list, I think is what she's actually referencing, right?
Yeah.
On
Or
an
a parent
individual
or
record on
not.
a related list.
So I would advise you enable enhanced domains, first of all. And then knowing that in historically, there's been a lot of change with like domains and then enhanced domains. And then it's like, well, when will that link become stale? Possibly never, but you're not in control of that. That's Salesforce is in control of that. So I'm not a real big fan of that, I guess, because chances are you'll have to go back in and change that link when something else changes in your domain. And me, I'm too lazy.
I also dislike hyperlinks. So that's a really good reason. Mine's more just because of the pain in the butt, but those hyperlink formulas display as a hyperlink when you report them, which makes your output look like garbage. They're great from a UI, but if you use it for anything else, they take up space. Enhanced domains. We should
So,
do a
so when
whole
you
hour
create
on
that field, Squire, when you create that field, don't add it to the custom report.
Right, yes.
Don't add it to all of those, but it pops up on the standard reports, and so it doesn't really help you
Yeah.
because typical users use standard reports.
Did you have a link to a report? But I guess it's kind of like the same thing. If that report changes, you got to change the report.
Yeah. Yeah, that one really, I think probably that's the, Stu, you hit it on the head, is that hyperlink is only as good as the formula that you wrote that handles the current state of your domain. And even if you use a relative domain, it might not work forever. And I like that. There's probably a better way to do it. So. Katie, you came back on camera. I feel like you want to say something.
No, I just was like, I'm going to come more regularly. Maybe they should see this.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, if you guys do have any inputs, I just finished my app builder, like I said, and my next goal was to tackle flow. I've done all the modules, but I'm going to do some extra work, maybe in Udemy or Daryl Moon's offering with the learning flow. But do you guys have, because I need to transition everything, obviously, from my org. Do you guys have any input on how to tackle learning that when you don't know?
Use your sandbox, or you use your sandbox.
That's a good idea.
There's a couple flow automation hours out there. There's well, I don't know all of them off the top of my head. But there's a lot of different angles. Who runs the one right after us, Squire? Do you remember?
Yeah, the automation hour.
Jen, or is
Jen-
that
Michelle Hansen.
Michelle?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that one's great. Oh my gosh. Just fill your brain with knowledge. It's a great session.
Yeah,
I'm gonna just say, I think that you are in a great position knowing you have to convert them and you're trying to learn flow, because you basically got a rule that works, and now you can reverse engineer it and say it needs to do the same thing, does it? And you kind of have that opportunity to learn while you struggle. I don't want you to struggle, but I feel like too many people are going to rely on that quick switch and maybe not realize how off the reservation their flows have gotten. So, I mean, I'm jealous that you have work that is going to teach you and improve your skill set.
It's the most ideal opportunity. It's a pain in the butt that I have to do it, but it's not lost on me that I get to not only get rid of the old stuff that we're not using anymore, that nobody's paid attention to, but I can learn it and troubleshoot it later or enhance it by learning as I go with it. But at the same time, I gotta get it done. So that's not far off in my head either.
Yeah.
I like that you said you get rid of stuff you're not using anymore, because instead of just doing a 1-for-1 replacement, you probably want to take a look at what you have out there and see, do you even use that? Or do you even need that anymore? And if you don't bring it over into Flow.
I got enough work on my plate. I don't need extra stuff is the way I look at it.
So Katie, I'm not gonna say the names out here because I know this is being recorded, but Christy's probably making a list. I'm making a list because I'm a user group leader for the Twin Cities. There's other group leaders that have been part of this this MVP hour. I'm making a list of Flow trainers, teachers that I've seen, that I've heard, that have come to my user group meetings. So I'm going to be making like a PDF cheat sheet of folks that want to learn Flow, that want to know what's going on. And if you want to know that, I can send that out to people. I'm not going to list the names on the recording, but I'll be happy to make that list for my user group, and then also make that list for anyone through MVP office hours that wants, hey, how do I learn Flow? There's a list of really good teachers that are part of the community that have created like YouTube channels and stuff like that.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. Like I said, I mean, all I have is the modules and what resources I can dig up. So unfortunately, I don't have that collaboration to learn from others in real time. So I would love that extra assistance. I'm sure anyone else here who is a solo admin would too.
Hey, you got us every other week.
Sort of. First and third. Come on.
True enough.
Mostly when there's not a holiday or a personal like.
All right. I'm
I'm
gonna.
recording here, huh?
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to call it. And unfortunately, I have to get to another meeting too. So I once again, it was awesome to have everyone join. These are great conversations. I hope everybody took a bit of knowledge back to the desks, and welcome to the new members. And we will see you on the 1st of April. Take care. And,
April Fool's Day. Fantastic.
Unfortunately, yes. All right.
Hi, everybody.
Bye. Thanks, everybody. Good to see you.
Bye.